Welcome to Paranormal Gateway Paratalk. I'm host Scott Wise from the first guest for Dr. Jared with Mr. Ferrazzano from Heaven Investor LLC. Dr. Wise is the director and founder of Desert Detective LLC. He is a paranormal investigator, writer, researcher, musician, and publicist. Dr. got interested in the supernatural in the early 80s while watching Unsolved Mysteries of the Raw Stack. His interest in paranormal peaked in 2002 when he had an opportunity to investigate the Gerald Wayne Inn at Marion Station, PA. Josh is a 2008 graduate of Westchester University and a future graduate student majoring in business administration. 2004, investigator Greg Nearing. Their goal was to use the original blueprints of Summerwind Mansion to restore, rebuild, and relaunch Summerwind Mansion as a museum. With haunted history, Summerwind is known to be one of the most haunted locations in Wisconsin. In August 2020, Josh founded the detective to help people who are going through paranormal experiences using Federal Research Society, a blueprint to help renowned paranormal investigators today. Josh has also investigated Sarah's Museum, Saw Museum, Ransom, Mill Cinema, White Chimney, Jarwin, and Fort Wilson, Pentar, Smyrna, and Gettysburg. She has Fourth Society and modifications. May 21st, 2021, Josh Fisher LLC Company purchased the rights to heal modalities such as shamanic healing, crystal healing, magical practice, happening, movement, post-restoration therapy, and meditation. The United States Advanced Mediumship under Psychic Medium Cindy Kaza from the Holzer Files. At this time, she continues to improve her development. Melissa also earns her own business as a psychic medium life coach. There, she conducts face-to-face virtual readings for clients. The last 4 years are homeschooling needs as special needs parent. One of her biggest passions is being a freelance writer on the side. For many years, Melissa had paranormal studies and loves nothing to do with paranormal investigations. In the past, Melissa has even been on a few room of her past years. Melissa spends most of her time listening shows and a huge fan of the Holzer Files. She loves spending time with the animals and connects deeply with them as well. Melissa truly enjoys reading for her clients, getting to know them, and they will enjoy her caring, compassionate nature. Spending time with the family through cardio-kickboxing, fitness, and taking walks in nature or some meaningful things she enjoys. Whew, where'd he go?
I know. It looks like we lost Joshua. I was trying to send him a message. And
No, he was digital.
yeah. Hopefully he'll pop back on. Maybe he was just having some technical difficulties, like he was saying. So yeah. So yeah.
I'll see you now.
Yeah. Let's see. There he is. Oh, we got Got him for a minute. There he
There
is.
we go. There we go. I'm back. Sorry. All right, let's do this.
Yeah. Glad to see you back.
So, but you missed the intro. Why don't I do it again?
All right.
That's what I'm really looking up your on.
Yeah.
And I did a quick reload, and it was like, boom! I got it. We got it back up and running.
Good. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll start off. I guess what inspired you to start investing in paranormal?
Sure.
Experience you guys had? Did you want to go first, or?
Sure, I can do that. So, and I'll actually let Melissa go, ladies first, and then I'll do it.
All right.
So So how did I get into the paranormal? So I have always had abilities as a small child, and it certainly didn't sit well with me, being so young and having experiences with spirit. And this ability stayed with me throughout my life. I mean, into my teen years, and when I was growing up, I did everything that I possibly could to try to ignore it. I didn't welcome it. I didn't like the fact that I could see spirits. And so as this continued into my adult life, I decided to embrace what was happening to me instead of fearing it. And I started learning about how I was receiving this information from spirits. And I started studying under teachers and mentors, and Cindy Kaza from the Holzer Files was one of them. And she really taught me a lot. She's a phenomenal medium and a phenomenal teacher. So I learned so much from her. But also throughout the years, because, I would have these experiences myself, I was very much into watching all the paranormal shows. So as much as this frightened me, it also intrigued me. And what I would find myself doing was watching the shows, especially when the mediums would be on with them, like mediums like Chip Coffey and obviously Cindy and the various other ones on all the ghost hunting shows.
Michelle Belanger.
Yeah. Yep. Michelle Belanger. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of hers as well. So I would see if I could tune into these locations just by watching them on television. I would see if I could pick up any information. And there were times that I would say something right before the medium on the show would say it. I would be watching a show and I'd say, there's a man here wearing a black hat. And then the medium would say, there's a man here wearing a black hat. And I thought, wow, I'm really onto something here. So like I said, I learned to work with my abilities. And before I knew it, I was reading for people. So I have my own business doing that. And so back in 2021, Joshua found me. He saw that I was a student of Cindy Kaza's, and he saw that I lived in the area, and his team, Phantom Detectives, was looking for a medium, and he asked me if I would like to come on an investigation with them. So I went on my first investigation. I think it was July 2021. That investigation was mind-blowing. I could always talk about that, later on. But my goal when I go into investigations is to go in there blindly. I don't want to know any history about these locations. I want everything to be as authentic as possible. So when I did that first investigation with the Phantom Detectives, and I was tuning into information, and Joshua was able to verify it later, I thought, wow, I can do this. I have the ability to do this. So that's my role on the team. So I've been with them for a little over 3 years. And I'm also an investigator as well. I do use our equipment, but yeah, so I've been basically my role is the team's psychic medium, and yeah, it's been quite a journey. So yeah.
Would you like me
Did
to
you
start taking?
did you have any when you're growing up? Family or friends take them? What about your own abilities, did anybody come up to you and say, man, you're or anything like that?
Yeah. So my family, I would try to like tell the adults around me what I was tuning into, and they didn't believe me. They chalked it up
Yeah.
to a child's imagination. So I felt very alone, and I just felt like it wasn't something that I could talk about or share with anybody. So I mean, in my opinion, I think times have changed. I think that we're a little more open to these things, and especially
Oh,
when children,
definitely. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
when children say, "Hey, I'm seeing a spirit." You know, I always encourage adults to believe a child when they say that they are seeing a spirit. Don't dismiss it that it's their imagination, because I feel that there's a pretty high chance they are really seeing a spirit. So yeah, but I didn't have any kind of support or understanding about that sort of thing when I was growing up. It was tough. So I did keep it to myself. Yeah. So yeah. But
Uh, okay, Josh, you're next.
Sure. Okay. Like Bob Barker, come on down. I'm the next
Come
contestant.
on down.
All right. So I originally got my start in the supernatural by watching Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack, much like
Mhm.
any 4-year-old kid in
Oh,
1988. And of course, In Search of by Leonard Nimoy, which was pretty much the first true paranormal television show, even before Unsolved Mysteries by Leonard
mhm.
Nimoy, who played Spock on Star Trek. So there was an episode called "The Haunting of the General Wayne Inn" on Unsolved Mysteries, season 1, episode 5. And I remember watching this episode and being mesmerized as a child about this old English coaching inn. It's named after my possible ancestor, Revolutionary War
Wow.
hero Major General Anthony Wayne, who was part of the Pennsylvania Continental Army in the American Revolution. So this episode covered how there was a Hessian soldier, famous dignitaries such as Ben Franklin, Marquis de Lafayette, Edgar Allan Poe, also, other famous dignitaries stayed there. And of course, it's about this Hessian soldiers who were obviously known to occupy Philadelphia around that time. And supposedly, these Hessian soldiers were seen in this old English coaching inn. And a lot of people had a lot of paranormal experiences here. Supposedly, a valet would be outside and the car would be turned on. And the key would be on, and the windows would be locked. There was also supposedly people that would also like the ladies would be sitting at the bar as patrons, and they would supposedly have their necks blown on, and they would think their husbands did it and it wasn't them. So there's a lot of interesting things about this old English coaching in. And then as we got into the 90s, I started reading every book by Dr. Hans Holzer, who was
Hmm.
America's first ghost hunter. I read every one of his books and some of his legendary investigations with his trans mediums, Ethel Myers and Sybil Leek. And I'm a friend of Sybil Leek's son, Julian Leek, who's a photographer down in Florida. I know Julian very well, and I know Alexandria Holzer, Hans's daughter, who I've been friends with for a number of years now. So, in the course, in the 90s, of course, I read every book on UFOs as well, from Whitley Strieber's Communion, and I'm a friend of Whitley's, to also Linda Moulton Howe. She used to do crop circles and cattle mutilations. I was really fascinated with her. I remember watching her on an NBC show in 1993 called The Other Side, which was really fascinating. And then in the 90s, I started hearing this voice pop up on. I remember switching the AM dial, and I started hearing this amazing voice saying Dreamland with Art Bell. And all of a sudden, I started being mesmerized by his show, him talking about time travel and ghosts and UFOs, and like talking about like all these amazing things, like with Malachi Martin talking about exorcisms. I mean, Art was pretty much the first real paranormal radio host, even before it was called Paranormal Radio. He did his show out of Pahrump, Nevada, in the desert, and he pretty much founded radio in Pahrump. And his interviews were always amazing. And as we got into the early 2000s, I started, getting into wanting to get into investigating. So in 2002, I had the opportunity to investigate the General Wayne Inn when it was privately owned, and it was also still a tavern. Before 2 years later, it became a Jewish synagogue. In the basement area, I took 3 consecutive photos, and some of them had green and yellow streaks of light on them. And I have no reasonable explanation why that happened. And then around 2003, I graduated high school. And then 2004, went to college at Westchester University, majoring in business administration. During that time, a lot of the ghost hunting shows started popping up on television. From Ghost Hunters, the Atlantic Paranormal Society, who I'm friends with, Jason Hawes, Grant Wilson, Dave Tango, Steve Gonzalez, Chris Williams. I mean, I know all of them. I've been friends with them for a long time. They're the plumbers from Rotor Rooter. And then in 2006, 2007, Paranormal State came out with Ryan Buell. I'm actually I'm a longtime friend of Katrina Weidman's. She was on the show, and Heather Taddy. Both of them are my mentors. Also, I have that show is really amazing. Chip Coffey, Michelle Belanger, and I model a lot of my team after what PRS used to do in those days. And then 2008, Ghost Adventures comes out with Zach Baggins and Aaron Goodwin. So all these shows started coming out on television. I always enjoyed how they would they would interview clients about their paranormal activity. They would also go through and set up a time and location to do an investigation, set up all the equipment, and then use the scientific method, which is create a hypothesis, develop it, and then after testing the hypothesis, see if you get results. It was always fascinating. And then in 2014, I actually had the opportunity to create something called the Wisconsin paranormal investigator Craig Nearing, called the Summerwind Mansion. And I don't want to get too deep into that today, but it's about rebuilding a haunted house in Wisconsin. We could do a whole nother show on that. But I actually own the original blueprints to Summerwind, and on the news feed of Summerwind, Craig Nearing, I came across him from the Fox Valley Ghost Hunters, and we created the Summerwind Restoration Society to restore, rebuild, and launch a haunted bed and breakfast up in Wisconsin. And then in 2015, 2016, I actually had the opportunity to work with Art Bell's former producers. One day I called into both their shows, on Midnight in the Desert with Heather Wade, and also Dr. J Radio Live, and I would end up working with both of them years later. So I got mentored and was taught how to book guests for Art Bell's former staff members. I actually served with three of his staff members, so that was a really great way to get networking and get connected in the paranormal field. And then in 2020, I decided I'm going to go ahead and start my own team. So I left another team, and then I created Phantom Detectives. And the idea of Phantom Detectives is there was an old 1930s and 1950s comic called The Phantom Detective. It was a very popular comic in those days. And after doing the Phantom Detective, I created business cards, had a team website built from the ground up. I also had, we started doing investigations under the new banner. So what I did was, I actually spent a night training under a guy named Brian J. Cano. There's a show called The Haunted Collector. Brian was on the show with John Zaffis. I'm sure you've seen that show, Melissa, The Haunted Collector,
Yeah.
And after that, we started doing investigation. And the first investigation we did was at a place called the Sanderson Museum. This museum was founded in 1967 as the Christian Sanderson Museum. And Mr. Sanderson, of course, he was a well-known musician, a poet. He hosted square dances. And the first investigation we did, I brought my former team member over, who has since left the team. She is a Civil War reenactor and a sound engineer, but she had skills in investigating and building equipment. So I brought her in during the first investigation. And mind you, the first investigation that we did was pretty crazy. So I'll go ahead and go over that. So in the violin case, there's a violin room. Melissa knows the violin room well at the Sanderson Museum. There, we set up. We had a security. We had a huge orb with a face, almost you can see facial features in it, go off. We had the security camera going off. We also had our EMF meter batteries drained. We had layers upon layers. We called it EVP in that room as well. And I'm pretty certain that we caught Mr. Sanderson's voice. So that night was pretty wild. And then after that investigation, we had someone named Mark Anthony, the psychic lawyer, psychic explorer. He joined us as a researcher. He's a world-renowned medium himself. Fantastic guy. They call him the Psychic Explorer. He joined us as a researcher to help us with haunted locations, any kind of legal questions, contracts. Mark is great to have for stuff like that. And then what happened was, we did the Mill of Anselma. The Mill of Anselma, that's the one where you see the door flying open by itself. And I'd love to talk to you about that investigation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, yeah.
So what happened was, we did the Mill of Anselma in January 2021. This was before Melissa joined. This was just my former team member and I. So we set up equipment all over the mill. And it was founded by a guy named Samuel Lightfoot in 1747. It was called the Lightfoot Mill. and also it was a famous poet named Sarah Oberheiser lived there for a time in the 1920s. So we set up this equipment on this door. So it was pretty wild. Was my team member put a security camera on the door, and you can see this door literally fly open by itself. It was not bolted shut. There was no wind. There was no rain. Nobody was on the property that night. And for that door to fly open by itself, I have no reasonable explanation why that happened. And what was also crazy was we picked up numerous thermal images, and up in the upstairs, the third floor, we also I did an EVP session. We like to call our EVP session Phantom Time, where we let the Phantoms come out and talk to us. And there we did Phantom Time, and we called a EVP that said "Go, go." I actually heard that pretty crystal clear. And then after that, I reached out and I wanted to go into the MUFON world. And a couple months later, and I reached out and found Mr. Rick Warner. And Rick, of course, had skills at interviewing clients. He knew how to film investigations. He had skills also with MUFON, like that would translate well, like setting up equipment. So I brought him in, and he did investigation with us at the Betsy Ross house. And the Betsy Ross house is a pretty amazing place as well. America's first flag was sewn there in 1776, when George Washington actually visited there. And he actually had Betsy build the first ever Stars and Stripes flag for the American Revolution. And in the basement area, Rick and our former team member were in the basement doing Phantom Time, the EVP voice recorders, and you can hear these screams, like these complete, like demonic screams coming out of the voice recorder. I have no reasonable explanation why that happened, and that was a pretty wild investigation. So now, what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about a little bit about this thing, dark matter news, quickly, because this actually ties in right after Betsy Ross. So in 2021, I got a call from a guy named Leo Ashcraft. He actually was a newsreader for Art Bell on a show called Midnight in the Desert. It was Art's final version, like Art's final version of Coast to Coast AM. So Leo worked for something called the Mutual News. He was hired by Art to be his affiliate director in 2015, but he left over creative differences of Keith Rowland. So Leo reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in purchasing Dark Matter News?" And I said, "Absolutely. How much do you want for it?" So we agreed to we bought the Dark Matter News name. We bought the Dark Matter News website. We bought the Dark Matter News audio files, and we bought the logos and everything. So the entire sale process, and we purchased this for an undisclosed price. Instead of like letting the brand die, I decided we're just going to merge it in. So we kind of merged Dark Matter News into Phantom Detectives in May of 21, a month before Melissa joined. And then what happened was after we bought the Dark Matter News logos and name, I reached out and I went back and I wanted to go back to the Selma mansion to do an actual private investigation instead of doing a public one with Brian Cano. I reached out and I found a guy named the late Bill Freeman. Bill was at a paranormal event called Phenomenology 2020. He was a part of the Norristown Preservation Society. So I asked Bill, "Hey, can we come down and ghost hunt with you?" And he said, "Absolutely, let's pick a date." And then what happened was Melissa, I got a recommendation from Cindy Kaza from the Holzer Files, and I was originally trying to get Cindy to join the team, but she was just so busy. She's like, "I think my student Melissa would be a fabulous fit for your team. She's excellent. I would highly recommend her." So I reached out and said, "Melissa, come on down to Selma Mansion and, feel free to talk about what you felt there, Melissa, during that investigation. Now's your time to go do it."
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard more with this Selma too.
Really?
Yeah, with these toys.
Really?
Wait, what's real weird is that it's right off the street, but it's got apartment buildings all around it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We did in the winter. It's so freaking cold.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, you probably had some amazing captures, I can imagine.
A lot. We had a lot of child voices and stuff being thrown off the tables, and we got a lot of activity there.
Yeah.
I got tons of AVs.
I believe it.
Mm-hmm. Could you talk about what you experienced, Melissa, about things that you were before you were picking up on the mansion? Like, what did you feel like before you went into that place? Do you remember any memories that you have of that investigation?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, about a week or so before our investigation, I remember telling Joshua. Now, this was something new to me. I guess an ability that I didn't realize I had. I don't know if it falls into the category of remote viewing, but I remember reaching out to Joshua a week before. I said, I'm tuning into the Selma Mansion, and I'm getting a vision of what looks like Abraham Lincoln. And I said, but I'm sure that's just, me, just maybe because of the time period and maybe how a lot of, guys looked back then. And he says, no, he says, you're onto something. And I said, what would Abraham Lincoln have to do with the Selma Mansion? I said, I can't possibly be right. He says, no, you are correct. You're onto something. And like I said, I don't know the backstory of any of these places. And Joshua said, well, Mary Todd Lincoln's grandfather was it Andrew Porter? Yep, owned the mansion at one point. So my jaw hit the ground. I could not believe that I was accurate. So it's one of those many of times I had to say, stop doubting yourself, because I don't believe myself half the time, but when it can be verified later on. So that was pretty mind blowing. But I remember when I first entered the mansion, when it was time for our investigation, and this was my very first paranormal investigation, with the team. And I remember opening the door and feeling like I was hit by a tidal wave of energy. And it wasn't negative, but I just remember having to close the door and turn around and catch my breath and stop and ground for a second before going back in. And when I went in, I tuned into she was very friendly, and it was like she was like just happy to show everybody around. And Joshua said there was a lady. He did have a name. I was tuning into someone specifically. I can't remember her name.
Martha or Margaret, something like that.
Yes.
Because I asked Bill Freeman that after we did the investigation, was there a servant here with like a lady named Martha or Margaret? And he said yes. She stayed here in the late 1800s, and she was like a caretaker for the General Andrew Porter's children, or something like that. So, and also Mary Todd Lincoln was also known to shop in Philadelphia and visit her ancestral home when she was in Philly. So that's a pretty interesting connection right there. That Mary Todd Lincoln would sometimes come to when she was in Philadelphia. She would stop by the Selma Mansion quite often.
Yep. Yeah.
But when we were there, I had a video call, and you go upstairs. The lady just last time we were there, top of the stairs, her house, guess what? They had a couch or something sitting there. But up above, they had a light hanging down. And we call it room back and forth.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I remember too. I know you were saying you caught child's voices. We were in I guess it was like a child's bedroom, and remember, Joshua, our equipment was going off like crazy. It was just
So what happened was there was on the third floor. And here's the funny thing: is we had a guest investigator that night named Ashley. She joined us, and the funny thing is her boyfriend actually, at the time, the guy that she was seeing, supposedly he was coming to pick her up, I guess, after, because she was going to be leaving, and he actually said he saw a gentleman with brown hair on the third floor, and he supposedly asked us, were any of you guys on the third floor? And we're like, no, we weren't up there at that time. And what's interesting was when we went there later on that night, this was up in the child's room on the third floor. Supposedly, I swore like that there's cabinets inside the room that I saw them flew open by themselves. And Melissa, you could probably remember that too, when in that child's room in Selma Mansion, basically those little cabinet doors flew open, and then all of a sudden we started getting EMF meter spikes. We started getting REM pod spikes. All kinds of crazy things happened, and we didn't even investigate the other side because we were so terrified.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That was quite a place. That one definitely stands out.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's got to get a chance to do the Hardman mention.
Which one?
The Hardman mention.
Hardman, yeah. So I just reached out to them yesterday. It's in outside Columbia. I think it's like in Columbia or Marietta, PA. Currently, they're doing renovations, and I actually called the number on the website and asked them, and he said, unfortunately, right now they're not allowing investigations because of renovations going on in building codes. But they did say I can circle back sometime next spring when the renovations are done and they're open. But we actually did investigate another place close to that called the Sam Miller Mansion in February 2024. And I would love to talk about that a little bit because Melissa remembers that investigation very well. And the Samuel Miller Mansion used to be, it was a toy shop, it was a feed mill, it was a bank at one time. It was actually founded by a guy named Samuel Miller, I think sometime in the 1700s. And supposedly, this was in February 2024. CBS 21 came down to do a story. The news station came down to do a story about it with Sarah Burns. I love Sarah, Melissa. She was great. And what was great wild about that investigation is you can see that thermal image. So I was up on the third floor of that the Sam Miller Mansion, and you can see that man and woman. That actual thermal image drew over 50,000 views on our TikTok channel. 50,000, Melissa, on TikTok, basically. That thermal image of that man and woman was supposedly one of the best captures we ever got. That was pretty amazing. And supposedly the angry gentleman on the third.
That it?
Yeah.
Nope. Oh, that's from the Governor of Ross Mansion. Keep going. I'll show you where it's at. Keep going.
All right.
I'll be able to show it to you as soon as I see it. Not that one. Keep going. That's that.
Good.
I'll know
right.
when I see it.
I'll get there.
Not that one.
No.
Not that one. Not that one.
What? I have to go up further. I'll get there.
You
will. I'll go.
These are pretty amazing captures. Keep going. You'll see it in a second. And okay, keep going. That's a Rick Warner one. Keep going. I'm sure you remember some of these pretty well, Melissa.
Oh yeah.
What's that going?
I'll explain as soon as I'll know it. Okay, no, keep going. That's from Black Powder Tavern. We're almost there. We're getting close.
There.
Here it is. That's our picture. Yes.
Yay!
We got it. Okay, so this picture here was captured in February 2024, and I was up in the attic, and Melissa remembers this picture very well, because what was wild about this investigation was after we were doing the investigation, we also went down to the basement area, and the basement area supposedly has connections to the Underground Railroad. Whatever's down there does not like women. Could you explain that, Melissa?
Yes. Well, it's funny because that's another place where I was tuning into it's a gentleman in the basement. This is another situation where I was picking up on a spirit before I got to the location. So I remember our other team member, Rick, asked me, he says, when we were traveling to the mansion, he says, are you picking up anything about the basement by any chance? And I said, there's an angry gentleman down there. I said, he's giving me a really bad feeling. And he said, you're right. There is something about an angry man down in the basement. He has a history of criminal activity. So I remember when we went down that basement and we investigated, and just the horrible feeling that you have down there. I mean, it's you just this overwhelming feeling of negativity. It's off the charts. And I remember I think it was a dowsing rod session we were doing, and it was either Joshua or Rick had asked, is there a man present here? And the rods crossed for yes. And I remember somebody asked something about, are you, is there somebody down here that you do not want to be here? And those rods swung right around and pointed at me. So this spirit made it known that he does not like women. And the owner of the mansion did let us know later on that there was a man who murdered women. Most likely, I think it was at that mansion. That mansion may have been a brothel in the past, so I think that is the backstory. But yep, yeah. So that was another interesting place. So yeah, another one that stays.
So we've been.
Yeah,
that was a very interesting night. That's for sure. I remember that investigation very good, and that's to me the holy grail type thermal image. Pretty amazing stuff.
Yes, definitely. Yep.
He's had me up with the thermals. I can start to stop. I'll show me
Sure.
tell me what they are.
Yeah, I can narrate each one for you. If you want to go ahead and put them up, I can. We can go back from the beginning. So, okay, so this one was actually in November 2022. This was for a client named DH who was experiencing demonic activity. So we were trying to help this family after investigating the lightship overfalls. And mind you, remember that investigation, Melissa, where we actually went down and like supposedly they were seeing like demonic like shadows and stuff in the basement area. And I
Yes.
captured this. Like this was right near where a REM pod was going off, and also where those black oil spills were popping up. And we got a lot of crazy EVPs. Like some of them were saying, "I want you to go." We also got cussed at on our voice recorder. Remember that, Melissa?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I got that a lot.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. But that was a supposedly a lot of the family, the kids, the children were so terrified they had to stay up on the top floor. But
Yeah.
Melissa and Rick were able to cleanse the. Rick had holy water from Jerusalem, and also Melissa had sage. So Rick and Melissa went through the entire house, used sage and holy water, and it made a huge difference. So that was a very interesting thermal image. So feel free to move on to the next one.
Yeah.
I know all these. Okay, so this one was captured by Mr. Rick Warner. This was at the Governor Ross Mansion down in Seaford. This actually was a capture that was supposedly he caught, I think, on the second floor of the mansion in one of the daughter's rooms. Are you still there, Melissa?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I was making sure. So that was one of the bank robber ones that Rick took. Supposedly, he captured that in one of the unoccupied rooms of the Governor Ross Mansion, and you can see it's got a face and everything. It's not a living person, because if it was a living person, it would be a completely an orange and a red. But this was someone that obviously that was not captured at all. That was a pretty wild investigation. So that was at the Governor Ross Mansion down in Seaford. You can keep going.
Yeah, get back to where I was.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with all around here.
Yeah.
I'm kind of do this thing here.
No problem. Okay,
Right.
this is the same place. This is just another image, just another look at it. You can see like all the faces and stuff too.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, this one was at the Black Powder Tavern. This was just our most recent investigation in September. You can see it right there, right, Melissa. You see the shadow to the right?
Yes.
Like
Yep.
So that was captured during the. I was just using my thermal imaging camera, pointing and clicking, and this was captured on the second floor in the Anthony Wayne room. This was supposedly, that's where where all the famous portraits are of like Washington and Adams and Jefferson. So this actual popped up there on the imaging, and this is not a living person, and supposedly this spirit has also been captured and also been observed by numerous people. So numerous people said you got a full body apparition right there. So that was at the Black Powder Tavern in Wayne, Pennsylvania.
There's a lot of fleas in Pennsylvania. We had a lot in Hollywood too.
Yeah. Okay, this one was Poplar Hill Mansion. So you remember Poplar, right, Melissa, and the story of supposedly the servant lady that had her dress caught on fire and near the fireplace in
Yes.
So this actually was captured. I took this. This was up in the nursery room of the Poplar Hill Mansion, and supposedly Melissa's like, I'm picking up. Melissa, Joshua, point your camera here. I'm picking up on a servant lady. And remember I had you do psychometry on those burn marks on the wood, Melissa.
Yes. Yes.
And you can see right here. You can see like a dress. You can see a very defined figure.
Yeah.
That's definitely that was a servant lady who obviously was known to take care of the kids in Dr. John Houston's family. Dr. John Houston was the first surgeon in Salisbury, Maryland during that time, and he obviously that was supposedly a full body apparition of the servant lady at Poplar Hill.
That was awful catch. Already.
Thank you. Okay, so this one this is the ghost dog. Remember this one, Melissa? So this was captured in July of 2022. This one was, so basically what happened was I was in one of the unoccupied rooms, and in Ginny, the client JH is old husband's room. Her husband passed away in 2021, a year before we investigated. And what's interesting was I pointed my camera in that unoccupied room, and mind you, I asked the client, I said, does this image bear any kind of resemblance to any animals that you had? And she said, yes. This looks like that it was my dead husband's Dashet hound who passed away in that room a year and a half before, 6 months before my husband did, and supposedly this image, this a ghost dog matches the Dashet hound that supposedly J.H.'s third husband actually had. Pretty interesting catch, I think.
Yeah. To come back to visit.
Yeah. Okay, so this one was a place called Booby's Brewery. I was just there again with my friend Katrina Wyman, my mentor Katrina. Obviously one of my best friends. I'm trying to get her to investigate with fan detectives in the future. You know, I know Melissa wants to meet her.
Yeah, definitely.
So this was captured on the third floor ballroom of the Booby's Brewery out in Mount Joy, and this was captured. And mind you, Melissa, you remember Booby's Brewery? You remember like feeling a lot of like, what did you feel up on that ballroom when we were taking this picture?
Yeah. You know, the ballroom definitely had activity, but I also remember we toured the hotel part of it, and I felt a lot of activity there as well. I think the ballroom, I picked up on. I know there were
girls.
Yeah, yep. There were a couple of girls.
Connie and Tekla.
Yep. Now, I know that I picked up on some tragedies, and one, remember the ones who do the tour, Melissa and her, yeah, yep, yeah. They're paranormal investigators that lead, you know, tours, and they allowed us to obviously come in that night and investigate, and they were there with us. But I remember Melissa had asked me, "Are you picking up on anything here?" There was a tragedy, so I picked up on a suicide, and she said that did happen. But she was also saying there was a fire, but I did pick up on, you know, the suicide.
I remember you also like, I'm picking up on a Frank, and all of a sudden I find out it's Bill of Frank. And she said, like, you should, Melissa Keller's like, you're right. There is a Frank here. And supposedly that Frank was the founder of Booby's Brewery before he sold it to Aloysius Booby, you know.
Yes. Yep. Because the room that we were stationed in, I walked in there and I just blurted out the word Frank. It came out of nowhere. And it's funny because names aren't usually my specialty. They happen once in a great while. And when they do, they're spot on. But it's just so rare. But I walked in that room and I said, Frank. And yeah, apparently there was a Frank who owned that brewery at one point in time. So yeah, so that was another interesting place. And I remember again in the hotel part of it, tuning into, there was a lady there who was pretty, she really ruled the roost. I mean, she was pretty strict, pretty stern. And that's another place that they said was a brothel at one point in time, especially the hotel rooms. So I was picking up on the madam. So yeah, yep. There are some of the things that stand out from that investigation. Yep. There's always, every investigation, there's always a few key things that stand out. But
yep.
Yeah, yep.
Let's keep going. Feel free to send the next one.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. These are pretty cool. Like these are just some of our best captures. We got plenty more, but these are just some of. Okay, this one was the same thing. This was captured in the same ballroom in just a different area. And Melissa's like, point your camera over here. And I remember aiming my camera, and this is what popped up. You can see like almost like two, at least maybe possibly up to three people, but it only captured two. But you can see like the suspenders on them right in the image. That kind of stands out to me because that could have been like. Supposedly this might be the Booby brothers, like that were the sons of the founder of the actual owner of the business. And I believe that they, back in those days, they used to wear like suspenders when they swimmed. Just reminds you of like swimwear, or like maybe like, you know, they might have been jumping in a pool. You know, that's how they would dress during the 19th century when they were be out, like if they wanted to go like cool off in the water, that's how they would dress. So that's what that image kind of stands out to me. It's kind of interesting. You see like the suspenders and all that, pretty defined, you know.
Well, because the lace I have the images.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool catch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Feel free to make the next one where you get.
So I guess the latest one I have for third ranges. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And I have to apologize to Melissa
No problem.
Oh,
So,
it's okay.
because I started off last week. I had a Michelle on,
Oh,
so that little tag thing started off with Michelle, but I fixed it.
it's all good. Hey, no one's. I do things all the time too. But
I,
those are
I listened to the Michelle's. I was like two Michelle like a couple weeks ago.
oh.
nice.
So,
Wow.
I know. Yep, the names are so similar.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So, um,
yeah.
So those are just some of our captures. I mean, obviously we got tons of EVPs. We got so much stuff throughout our history. We've gotten like numerous pieces of evidence, and like I said, we got that door flying open by itself. That's one of our best pieces of evidence. We got the rope swinging by itself. I mean, we got some. Those are just some of the things. Not to mention all like we got probably 30 EVPs now. So I God knows how many we've gotten.
yeah, yeah, we have. We've captured a lot, and every investigation we walk away with
With two
something.
or three pieces sometimes, at
Yeah,
least.
yeah. So, and you never know what the spirits are going to, how they're going to want to communicate. Sometimes our equipment doesn't go off at all. Some nights it'll go off so much that we've had to shut it off because, it can be distracting. So you never know. You never know. But yeah.
I could try and play an EPP you guys have.
Sure, sure.
Um,
Just pick something off the website. I can narrate it for you.
yeah, the website here. I can
Sure,
share the screen.
sure. Like I'm
All
pretty
right.
good, so I know I know every. I've been on every Phantom Detectives investigation. Like Melissa's been pretty much in 80% of them, so she knows
Yeah.
exactly what TV. To me, one of the best ones that we captured, if you can look for it, is the one from the Lightship Overfalls, where it says "Hello, help me." That was
Yeah.
an amazing capture.
Mhm.
Hello, help me. Remember that one, Melissa? That one's.
Oh my goodness.
It
Yeah,
should
that
be.
was.
If you keep scrolling down, it should be. It should be in November 2022. So you have to scroll up. But I can. These are just some of them. There's so many here. We've collected a treasure trove of EVPs. But if you look for the one that says Lightship Overfalls, that's like one of our best captures. It's a Class A.
Oh yeah, yeah. That one actually made the local paper,
Yep.
the Lewis Gazette,
Yep.
and yep, and that one was. I think it was actually our best capture because you could hear the tone of the woman's
There it
voice.
is.
Yeah.
Right
Yes,
there,
I
Captain's quarters.
right here.
Okay, keep going. One more down. One, sorry, one
Yeah.
more. Next one down. Sorry. There it is, right there. Yep. Go ahead and click that bad boy. I'll narrate it too after you're done.
It's so here.
Yep. This is an amazing one.
Hey, heard that.
Yeah. So what happened was we actually so we got the Lightship Overfalls. We were actually doing EVP sessions on the cruise side, which is the left side of the ship. Melissa, Rick, and I were in one of the cabins doing an EVP session. So what happened was I just basically asked a question. If there's anybody here with us, anybody like to communicate with us, and we come back and we get this woman's voice. It wasn't, and mind you, it was rainy that night. It was a perfect conduit for paranormal activity. And what's interesting was Melissa's like, I'm picking up on a woman. What does a woman have to do with the ship? And then basically that's what popped up. And mind you, no one was outside. It was all rainy. Like we had to literally walk up. Remember walking up that ramp on the Lightship Overfalls, Melissa? We had to be careful not to fall in the water.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
And
That was the one investigation, the one that really stands out where we really had to watch our step. So, yeah, yeah, that light ship had a very peaceful vibe. I think the guy who runs the light ship,
it's a
uh,
thing. Yeah.
yep, I think from what I understood, he was skeptical for a while. I mean, that ship had reported paranormal activity, and he didn't believe it. Maybe because he never had any experiences himself, but when we brought to him the evidence that we've captured, and especially that EVP, I think that made a believer out of him.
Yes.
So, yep. And
And
I always, we were, I was picking up some things about the captain, but as Joshua said, the woman was even more significant, and I didn't know why. I didn't really know what her role was, but when we captured that voice, I was like, okay, makes me wonder if
And
that's her.
And what was wild also is in the captain's cabin, which is on the right side of the ship. We went back, we finished up there for the rest of the night. Remember that Paralight I had to set up on one of my Paralight Plus, like the Paranormal lantern was going off like crazy. It was going
Mhm.
beep, 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 beep,
Yeah.
like that. Every 5 seconds, that thing was going off. And then remember, we were using the SLS camera, which stands for Structured Light Sensor. We were aiming the SLS camera against a solid wall. We picked up a huge stick figure that was like basically standing watching what we were doing at the same time that Paranormal lantern was going off. And then remember when Rick was in the utility area of the ship, we also started getting a lot of activity there too with Rick's Annabelle REM pod.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. That was a night where our equipment was going off like crazy too. So, yeah, yeah, that was an amazing investigation.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
yeah. I gotta get like out again. I'm jonesing for an investigation right now.
That's awesome. And it's funny because this website is actually going to be disappearing soon. The funny thing is we're actually going to be rebuilding the Fan Detectives website. I have an agreement in place we're getting a updated website. It's going to look similar to the original, but there will be some differences. The new website will be going live on Christmas Day. I'm so excited to share this with your listeners. We'll be getting a brand new website. It'll be similar to the original, but it's going to be changing from PHP to WordPress. So we're going to be getting a brand new state-of-the-art website. It'll be just like this, but there's going to be some upgrades to it. And I can't wait to reveal that to you guys coming up on Christmas Day when we go live.
Mhm.
Okay, this one,
Yeah,
Melissa. Talk about this image, would you, Melissa?
Oh my goodness, yes, that one. Yeah, that one is still mind
You took it.
blowing. So now, I'm somebody that I always look for that logical explanation with investigations because I know that not every single thing is paranormal. I mean, sometimes there is truly an explanation for sounds we captured, whatever it may be, and even images. This one I can't explain. We were in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, at a restaurant called the Bloom Southern Kitchen, and I had a digital camera, and you know how they say take pictures in sets of three all around each
Yep.
room.
Yep.
So I was just pointing and shooting, and then later on, when we reviewed the pictures, I thought, who and what is that there? And I know pictures can be subjective, but to me it looks like a woman maybe in a Victorian style dress, maybe like sitting with her chin, her hand resting under her chin.
Hmm.
That's what I see. Now we can't explain this. There is no patio outside. There was nobody behind me. I was in that room by myself, and that isn't me because I was walking around taking pictures. So that's another mind-blowing capture that we can't explain. Now the employees of this restaurant have said on that floor, because we were on the second floor, the employees have said that they've heard a woman calling their name. A couple of them have reported that. So it makes me wonder if that might be her. So yeah, that's another one of our amazing thermals that we've
Do,
captured. Well, digital
do,
pictures.
do,
Yep.
do they know who she is? Her name or anything?
Yeah, well, they say she's the lady in red. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Was
uh,
her name Mary by any chance? But yeah, that's what they described
I
her as.
think so. I'll have to ask the owner, David Backus, again. I can't remember, but I think it was like Mary or something along those lines.
Yeah.
that's her mom's name, Mary.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Well, I
Yeah.
think they said that this woman, the lady in red, was murdered there. I believe
Yeah.
that's the story. So
And
yeah. So,
and supposedly there was also out. Remember, you're also picking up. You're like, I'm picking up on outlaws too. You said, what
yes.
does outlaws have to do with this place? And then I checked the history, and supposedly it used to be called the Eagle Tavern in Chester Springs. Supposedly it used to be obviously in the 1700s. It was actually a whole bunch of outlaws.
Yes. And what's interesting too is in that restaurant, so one of the managers had pulled me aside and showed me pictures that she had taken when she opened the restaurant in the morning because they open at lunch. and there were dishes thrown across the kitchen. It could not be explained. It looks like there were plates stacked on a shelf, and it looks like something took each plate and threw it across the room, and it shattered. It was like literally going around the corner into a hallway. So it wasn't like the plates just dropped straight down. Something threw them across the room. So I have a strong feeling that it's these outlaws that used to hang out there.
Yep.
Because even that manager had said, she feels very uneasy that there's something negative in that part of the restaurant. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, yep. Yeah. So another amazing investigation there.
And let me say, we also made the front page of the Daily Local News in July. We were the front cover from that investigation. We made the Sunday paper, basically. Remember that, Melissa?
Yeah.
That was the front page of the news. We
Yes.
were. That was pretty amazing. We're accomplishing great things, and that was an amazing capture. Melissa called that with just her camera. She has a sense of seeing spirits and then being able to photograph them. This is one of her best captures on the team yet, in my opinion. She's done extremely well, but this was all her. This was all her photo. She takes credit for all this one.
You guys ever hear a ship in action? BA?
Yeah. Which one? The chips.
Ship.
Ship's End. Yeah. So it's actually called VK Brewing now. Yes. Yep. I have reached out to them, but I have spoke to them. Unfortunately, they're not allowing paranormal investigations at this time. But I did submit I know my friend Dave Giuliano was there, one of my mentors in the paranormal field. Dave's a really good guy. Fortunately, they've changed it. The new ownership bought it, and they're not allowing investigations. But I did try, and I'm going to continue to work on them in the future.
Yeah, we got there first at the investigation.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was nice.
That's really cool. Yeah.
That's in Exton, I believe. It's right off Exton, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, a really good investigation. I got a lot of stuff there too.
Cool.
That's cool.
I had a weird experience there. I'm kind of empath. I feel certain things that, and every the year it's better and better at it. So
cool. That's awesome.
At that point, we were down in the basement. I walked in, I just broke down crying.
Really?
I felt all hot and stuff.
Oh, wow.
And my friend took me outside, and we got a medium. She couldn't make an investigation, but we got her to call her up about it, and she said, "We'll find out if there's a fire there." And apparently there's a fire that I guess someone died in the fire there. So we went back to the basement, and we looked up at the ceiling, and there's still charred timbers.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I don't know if that better again. I was down, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's pretty crazy what you find.
Yeah. If you get there, get a chance to go. Yeah, go there.
I sure will. So it's called the Ship's End. I think it's called VK Brewery now, but
yeah, probably.
Yeah. Yep, we'll put that on the bucket list. Yep.
Yeah. I'll talk to them. I'll see what I can do. Melissa. And speaking of that, we're going to a vampire museum in February. We have worked out with the owner, Ed Chimney. We just have to come back, and Melissa made the announcement. We will be investigating an actual vampire museum with tons of paranormal artifacts. It's going to be freaking awesome coming up in January, February.
Cool.
Yep, I'm very much looking forward to that one. That's in Doylestown, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, right off 202. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. Sometimes I miss Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been out here for 8 years now. So.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
I mean, I like Ohio too. Yeah. I'll play me back to PA, but
nice.
I don't know. Got a lot of stuff out here to investigate too.
Oh, there's Mansfield Prison, I suppose. But I think that's out your way.
Yeah,
Check that out.
That one in Prospect Place.
Yep.
Might do that one next year, but my team, I got in contact with my team today, and
one place. If you could check out West Virginia, I know my team member Holly Falk, so I'll get her for your show. She's on our team as our research department. She used to work on her Elfie at PRS. They used to be a place called the West Virginia Penitentiary. You might want to check that out as well.
Heard of
Yep.
her.
Yep.
Yeah. Our team planning on going to
Oh,
New
wow.
York this year to Wildwood Sanitarium.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
Because we did his ale house 3 years back for a
Awesome.
weekend.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, yeah. There's so many places to investigate, and yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of these days we're gonna have to. We always say we gotta take a road trip and go across the country and go check out all these other amazing places I've heard of. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's something I'm going to do. I want to take this thing nationwide, and I hope eventually we can do this full time for a living. That's my dream.
Yep. I was very fortunate. I had to always driving around, meet me, and South Carolina. But Palmyra Museum Historical Museum was given a good deal. In New York, Palmyra Historical
I heard of that
Museum.
one.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Yeah, we'll have to add that to our bucket list, Joshua.
Absolutely, and of course, eventually we'll get out to Illinois. We'll get out to the Midwest eventually, hopefully.
Oh yeah.
How's to Ohio?
Ohio, yeah, that's a really nice. Indiana's cool.
Yeah. Ohio's only about 7 hours drive.
Yeah. You should get out. One place you might want to check out if you're in Pennsylvania again is Pennhurst. Melissa and I have been there multiple times. It's a great location, and it's part of. It used to be obviously a reformatory school for the critically insane. It was actually created in 1907. It was decommissioned in 87. But it's actually a mental asylum for people that were needy, and a lot of people died there. And it was also connected to the Underground Railroad as well. But it's a highly recommended place, especially Mayflower. I've investigated there multiple times and captured a lot of evidence. But if you ever check out Pennhurst Paracon next year, the big Paracon festival is coming in May. Ghost Hunters will be there. Destination Fear. Also, Nick Groff from Ghost Adventures. Katrina Wyman, who is like one of my mentors, one of my best friends. Also, I believe Josh Gates from Expedition Unknown will be there. So you got definitely check out Pennhurst Paracon in May. It's a really highly recommended event.
Yeah, they say it's one of the biggest paracons, in the country. So, pretty cool stuff.
I for the last 3 or 4 years, I'm going to Mansfield Cemetery.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, for the paracon.
Have you seen? I think my mentor goes there, Heather Taddy. Do you know Taddy?
Yeah.
Heather. Oh yeah. Heather actually went to college with my best friend Gwen, and we actually have Ryan Buell's old Trifeld. The old PRS Trifeld is in our possession. The very first EMF meter Taddy used on her investigations, we got it, right, Melissa?
Yes. Yep. We're taking good care of that. Yep, guarding it with our life. Yep.
Packed up all cell phone with the get around.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Joshua, I was going to say, do you want to let everyone know where they can contact us?
Sure.
If ever we
Yes. I would love to plug in our websites if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, so I want to go ahead and just give all the main websites and everyone can find us. So the first one I want to be able to mention is Mark Anthony, the Psychic Lawyer. If you have a question on mediumship or his books, his website is afterlifefrequency.com. That's afterlife, like all one word, afterlifefrequency.com. The Psychic Lawyer can be reached on afterlifefrequency.com. If you have a question about occult symbols and spiritual beliefs, our head researcher of that area is Holly Faust, former part of PRS. Her website is hollyfaust, HOLLYFAUST.com, hollyfaust.com. If you have a UFO question or you want an extraterrestrial, anything extraterrestrial, Rick Warner, our lead investigator, our tech manager, and our director of client relations, his website is ERC, the number 2, explore.com. That's ERC2explore.com. If you have paranormal news stories, I also run Dark Matter News. It's owned by Melissa, Rick, and I. We own Dark Matter News as well. That website is dark, D-A-R-K, matter, M-A-T-T-E-R, like all one word like this, darkmatternews.com. And then the team website, be ready, it's phantomdetectives.org, phantomdetectives.org, phantomdetectives.org. And could you plug into your website, Melissa?
Yes, yep. So my website, if anybody wants to reach out for a reading of any kind, mediumship, tarot, they're my main specialties. So you can find me under www.psychicmediumautumn.com.
And you can also find Melissa's website under our important website section on Fan Detective. So
Yep.
she's also on there. You can find Rick's website and Dark Matter News all under that hub.
Yep. So on Phantom Detective's website, all of the websites are listed there. So yep, to make us easier to find. So
that's all. Also in the emails sent a while back, got a lot of links and different things too. You gave me, so I'll put them in.
Thank you. Sounds
great. Where because this will be on Spotify probably.
Okay.
So,
Oh, thank you. We definitely appreciate that. We had a great time with you tonight too.
So I'm glad. I am blessed. I'll get you back on next year. We'll get more stuff.
Great.
Definitely, and I'll get you Holly, and I'll get you Mark as well. Mark is fantastic. He's written 3 books, and I'll get you Holly. So we'll make that happen. No problem.
Hey, more than merrier.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll talk paranormal. Yeah, that's my thing. So.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm very passionate, and especially like having worked with Art Bell's staff members. He's the godfather of paranormal radio. He started it all.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. But thank you so much for having us on, and we would love to come back on again.
Yeah, it's my pleasure having you guys on. I had a blast. So.
Thank you. We had a great time.
I'll play your outro out now. Play it on.
Sounds good.
Okay.
That sounds great. Yep. Have a good night.
Right.
Thank you.
You too.